Naughty Dog's next roadmap is hiding more than Intergalactic. Between Ellie's next chapter, Casey Drake picking up Nathan's compass, and an unknown IP that has everyone's senses going off like a clicker, the studio is definitely keeping secrets. Today we're piecing together their full plan for the next few years, so hop in your spaceship, watch out for clickers, and let's explore the Uncharted. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, Naughty Dog's next big IP, and the anchor of their entire roadmap. Development for this game started in 2020, right under our noses, while everyone was still dissecting The Last of Us 2. Neil Druckmann took the director's chair alongside Matthew Gallett with Kurt Marganu as co-director. And Druckmann already was teasing something bigger in these interviews alongside whispers of The Last of Us 3. But here's where the roadmap shifted. Naughty Dog canceled The Last of Us Online after years of development, pouring everything into Intergalactic instead. That cancellation told us exactly where the studio's priorities lie. Then 2024, Game Awards confirmed it. Druckmann revealed that this would be their most ambitious, expansive game ever, with environmental storytelling and player discovery influenced by none other than Elden Ring. But will it live up to the hype? Naughty Dog may still be operating under the same crunch culture that defined the studio for years. The evidence comes from former senior game designer Benson Russell, speaking in an interview with Kiwi Talks. He revealed that crunch at Naughty Dog wasn't just a deadline problem, it became policy. He says in the interview, every meeting after that they had was like, hey, what are we gonna do to try and mitigate the crunch? How are we gonna make this better? And eventually it was just an admission in the meeting. It was said, well, we've come to realize that this is what it takes to make games at our level. If you don't want to do that, we understand. We'll write you a great letter of recommendation. Now, Russell frames that as a decade-old conversation, but here's where it gets current. He draws a direct line to Intergalactic. Back in December, the team was reportedly crunching to finish a demo for Sony's review, despite the game targeting a 2027 launch, which doesn't sound good to me, but I digress. Russell's explanation: the studio set these goalposts when it feels the project was wandered too much and needs a re-anchor. Bloomberg independently corroborated this, reporting that employees were required to work a minimum of 8 extra hours per week from late October 2025. The pattern to this is very clear, and with a 2027 release window tightening, the question isn't whether Naughty Dog can deliver, it's whether the team building Intergalactic is the same one that lost part of its fan base with The Last of Us 2. But how about we explore some Uncharted areas first? It's been 10 years since the release of Uncharted 4, and for a franchise that defined a generation of PlayStation storytelling, that silence has been excruciating. The conversation around a 5th installment stretches back as early as the COVID era, with reports suggesting early planning existed before the pandemic hit. Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming reported that those early developments were likely disrupted by COVID, with priorities shifting elsewhere, most notably towards, of course, Intergalactic. So where does Uncharted stand now? Back in May of last year, Neil Druckmann appeared on episode 51 of the Press X to Continue podcast and confirmed that Naughty Dog has a second game in production and that he himself is pivoting into a producer role on that project. The internet immediately started filling in the blank. You know, some fans placed their bets on a revival of Jak and Daxter, others had Uncharted in mind. Therefore, we're current, but there's one piece of the evidence that sits above everything else. On February 16th, Sean, I can't say his last name, the creative director at Naughty Dog and the man who co-directed and wrote Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, posted a single image to Instagram, a cannon overlooking the coastline, captioned research. That's it, one word. Now, context matters here. He left Naughty Dog in 2018 for Crystal Dynamics, and he came back in April 2021 according to multiple reports. He's been quietly leading an unannounced single-player project for roughly 3 to 4 years alongside Intergalactic. So when he posts a cannon on the cliff in what fans have identified as Trinidad, a location that fits squarely in a geographic fingerprint of the Uncharted franchise, the comments didn't take long to fill in the blanks. This isn't fan fiction. This is a creative director on a location, caption it research. That goes boom on the evidence board. Last of Us 3 started circling the air in GQ interview I mentioned earlier, where Druckmann confirmed he was already thinking about what would come next, a trilogy or an entirely new game. We know how that played out. Intergalactic became the priority. But what mattered in that interview wasn't the decision. It was what Neil said about the leaks at the time and whether they included The Last of Us 3. Now, the ending of part 2 doesn't exactly leave the door wide open. But in the Grounded 2 documentary back in 2023, Druckmann put something on the board that changes the picture.
I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as 1, as exciting as 2, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story.
That's a concept confirmed on camera. Then Druckmann gave an interview with Variety and walked it back entirely. Don't bet on it, he said, which raises obvious questions. Why publicly fucking confirm a concept in one breath, then retract it in the next? And then the leaks came rolling in like a herd of clickers, silent until they weren't. Around March, the leaks started stacking up. Insider Daniel Richmond, also known as Daniel RPK, a leaker with a hit or miss reputation, so take this with a grain of salt, posted on his Patreon detailing what the next installment could look like. A group of survivors in an old Victorian house on the outskirts of a city, fighting each other for control. Multiple other leakers were independently corroborating the same setting. Then something came in that started connecting the dots on why of that Victorian setting. Former Naughty Dog lighting artist Gabriel Benacourt, speaking on Kiwi Talks podcast just weeks ago, revealed a conversation he had with Druckmann during the pre-production on part 2. Before Benacourt left the studio in 2019, Druckmann told him directly, several people are immune, there's a whole congregation of that kind of person, and what he wanted to do was expand on the story. So multiple characters, multiple perspectives. Druckmann has been sitting on his concept for years. A congregation of immune survivors, different factions, different agendas, in one Victorian stronghold. Evidence is starting to take shape. But before we close out, here are my thoughts on everything. Now, this roadmap and the information that comes with it reads as credible. Not much is known about Intergalactic, but the concept to me is very intriguing. And honestly, who wouldn't want a new Uncharted? The franchise has been quiet for almost a decade, but how solid are these release windows really? Well, Neil already confirmed another game is in development, right? So let's look at how Naughty Dog operates. They run on a staggered production model. One title in full production, a smaller team handling pre-production on the next. They tried running 2 full independent teams during The Last of Us and Uncharted 3. It didn't hold. A game at that scale eventually pulls everyone in. So what you're looking at is Intergalactic in full production with that second project sitting quietly in early development, which honestly lines up with everything the Uncharted rumors have been pointing to. 4 years of quiet development, a creative director running location research in Trinidad, and a studio with a documented crunch problem. The roadmap, to me, is looking pretty promising. Whether it holds is another question entirely. So there you have it, Naughty Dog's roadmap so far. I want to thank everyone who subscribed. It genuinely means a lot. Shout out to the UK, Canada, my Aussies and Germans. I see you guys. Road to 500 starts now, and if you want a deeper dive like this, join the Insomniacs, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, and drop a comment below which game do you want Naughty Dog to pursue first. Let me know where you land on that. Count your sheep, catch your Z's, and go to sleep. Peace out.